Yeah.
We have a tracker. We have one of those.
Is this medicine, right? Yeah?
She was at
It
there.
was actually.
Oh, okay.
It's like,
Good.
Anybody in the county can get it.
Yeah, we went through that with my mom this winter.
yeah.
That's why we had 3 days, 2 weeks.
Oh, did he? Oh, did you? Oh, we got one in the fire department. We just got it. It's hopefully they treat it okay.
You just
I know you can say something about that. Or somebody $20 or something like that.
Jump right in.
You may second guess that, Green. Yeah, you may second guess that, Green. After you feel like you're 83 because you're taking care of them. Oh, yeah. We're on our 3rd one now. Lucky for me because she's 800 miles away. I don't have to deal with it on a regular basis. But she's doing great. Kurt, how you doing? How you doing? Good? Good. You all right?
Two of
You
them.
ready for the...
Some warmer weather?
Well, yeah. One behind, one in front.
It's getting there.
I mean, it's kind of, I'm sure it was farther away than.
It's Indiana.
I didn't make it.
Oh, yeah, friends are just talking.
You know, that's how.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna get snow. I'm from New York. Northern New York is gonna get snow maybe early. Or tonight. No, it's not gonna, it's gonna be 40 degrees, but they're
Yeah,
gonna
it's
get
not
snow.
snow.
But,
I didn't look at my phone.
this is an interesting time of year.
See if I make.
See how,
I didn't think it's, he's coming.
see how resilient
I came on.
everybody's anxious. Go out and plant flowers and then they kill them.
Last couple days. And,
I just wanted to
fire alarm went off on the phone, keep a house fire.
Big hurry.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Harold, you're here.
Dan, how you doing?
I mean, after people's eyes come back in their head. How you doing, Harold?
Okay.
Oh, yes.
No, I'm probably not.
Hey, I used, one document.
Yes.
It turned out, how much you think about this, okay? Yeah. Jack's did a good job with this.
Yeah, he came out with some cars. He and his son. Well, they came over, one of the deals was, somebody would pick up the dumpster immediately. So he came over with his big truck. He and his son came out and they just helped us unload for the last couple hours of the day. And when we were done, he loaded up one and hauled it away.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you about DocuSign works, okay? DocuSign doesn't do anything to prove anything.
Yep.
All it does, it takes the word of the person, that's who they are.
Want the pot, and
And that means it goes from whoever the sender.
Yeah, well, that's what they said, it's gonna rain about 2 and that's when they started sprinkling.
I think they are, because the process, yes, it's also got, it has a resolution, and it's basically form, they're allowing form, they're allowing form and Congress substance. And they said if you use something like DocuSign, then you have the proof. This is the same thing. Now, what we don't have is they don't have a,
Because if it's the physical signature, if somebody could.
no, but if you ever got to a situation where, it was contested, you would have a signature, but with DocuSign, all DocuSign is it's an icon for their signature. It's not really their signature.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway,
Cool.
so I'm not done with this.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
I got somebody that's trying to get our business, and I'm gonna try to get it out on.
Yeah, I don't think it's dead, yeah.
I gotta get that back at some point, because I have one out here for you. And how are you?
Good, James, how are you, sir?
Great.
You got a heckler. This guy, always driving by heckling me.
Hey, I was in the front,
Oh, you
I was
were?
in the front seat when he did it.
Did you sell all those, chairs, they had a ski park?
I didn't sell any of those, but we sold both trailers, so.
Yeah? We're good.
Yeah, my mom sold like $175 worth of crap. Absolutely. She does all sorts of like sewing stuff.
What the trailers go for?
The orange one for $2, the car hauler one for $2, and the white one for $6.90.
Those are good prices.
Did you get it? Yeah. Right around the ballpark. It's tough. Yeah. These trailers are tough. They're either really, really good shape and you kind of take a beating on the price, or they're totally beat and you still take a beating on the price. But those are real clean. Hey, did I get one? Hey, is A&E this week or next week? Who's on A&E? Jeff, are you on A&E?
Actually,
Tell you just a second. So it is this week. It's this week.
It is this week?
Yeah.
Okay. Can my dad get on the agenda, or does he have to call like ahead of time?
Do what?
He needs to put a ramp for my mom out the front, so. Good morning, I'll give you one. Get it approved.
I just haven't called in.
You're not interested?
I haven't called in, just want to know everybody.
Okay.
And just asking, because I don't know if that's something,
Okay.
might be,
just
might be a porch thing.
it was not, it wasn't a financial decision. I pulled this up today. This is the Green Castle. This is another option of a place that they can take it. They'll take grass skids and I said they just won't take lower wings and stumps.
Okay.
So I've got a list of that.
What are you guys doing on Saturday? Sort of car or anything?
Extrication.
Okay.
Chris, do you know who the board liaison is for EPT?
You don't have a board liaison for EPT because you're not a committee.
Works for me.
Now, you report through the long-term planning committee, and the long-term planning committee liaison is AJ.
Well, HLEPT is on here.
It's not a committee, it's a subcommittee.
Good morning. Yeah, I think we have a jacket.
Yeah, go ahead.
You get the gist.
Well, we got one.
But I have.
Keywords dead.
Okay. Just state that. So you guys have a meeting. I take that as a threat.
Please take it all, all right, nothing's gonna happen tonight. I didn't want people to think about it. We thought it was evening, I guess.
Here's your dark hero.
Could we go? You can
Really, let's take out vacation.
because I got my gun on my side.
So around this weekend.
That's a little scary. He's like Mr. You know, Mr. Clean.
That's why I say that. This guy is a we need to keep this.
Okay.
Yep.
In case we
All right, you guys ready?
She's loaded.
Everybody please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Today is the May 13th POA Board of Directors meeting. It is being recorded on YouTube. Before we get started, I received this as an anonymous donation from somebody. I don't know who. I don't know if, so my disclaimer is I don't know how it's used, so if I throw it, don't be offended. I'm learning. I'll try not to use it, but there were some really kind words attached to it, so whoever the anonymous person is, I appreciate it. I don't expect to have to use it, except for extreme circumstances, but I thought it was a cool thing. So thank you, whoever it was that sent that. So we'll begin with announcements. Ken, do you want to go first with yours?
Yeah, I would just like to take a quick moment and recognize a few people. I'll tell you a quick story. I debated on whether even to tell this story, but I'm 100% confident that she's not listening. Last week, and I say that out of respect to her. Last week, I got a phone call that we visited a residence on a welfare check. This lady had some medical issues. She wouldn't come to the door, so I popped in one of her windows. Made entry, and her sugar level was about 30. Medic said she had approximately 1 to 2 hours to live. So we got an ambulance rolling. Today she's fine, but she's a widow, and the conditions of her home was in really, really bad shape. So I started. The lady reached out to me for some help, and I started putting together a team that would go in and help get her home in a condition that we could eventually get her back in. I sent out an email because there was just several cans, aluminum cans. I know the cleanup committee collects them for funds, and so I reached out to them and asked them if they would like to assist. Without a blink of an eye, Jeff Blades, Tom Novak, and Paul Forbes, along with Sheriff Stockton, had committed to 7 trustees that was at her house, and we were there about all day. It was there from about 8:30 to it was probably 3:30. But everybody chipped in. This is not to judge who it is, not to try to figure out why or who or anything like that. This is just strictly for me, from the bottom of my heart, to thank Stockton, the trustees, Paul Forbes, Tom Novak, and Jeff Blades on stepping up and helping this lady out. We've got a little ways to go. She's currently in Fort Wayne with a family member, and she's given me a key to her house, and we're trying to get some contractors in and get some things repaired in her house to get it back in shape. So I'd just like for everybody to take a moment and say thank you to those individuals that I announced, because they spent their day. They could have been doing 1,000 other things, and they worked their butt off. So,
Chris, if I may add a note. First of all, I wasn't there very long at all, and my name shouldn't be a part of this. But I will say this, just so the community knows, this is just like everything else our manager has involved himself in. It didn't stop that day. He's going to be involved in this thing probably for the next 6 months. And he doesn't pat himself on the back, but he did all the work, he did all the contacts, he made it happen. And I have just never been more impressed with someone that takes care of the community than Ken Roselle.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Jeff Blades. That's why we all live here, you guys, because neighbors take care of each other here, right? We're a small community, relatively speaking, and how many examples do we already have of people stepping up when they see somebody in need, regardless of whether you're friends with them, you know them, you agree with their views on anything. People hear of somebody in need and people jump in, and I think that's just fantastic, and it starts with this guy right here. Undoubtedly, he is the example that we all like to follow, because it would have been easy for him just to call social services or some other agency, come on in and let them deal with it, but he's trying to make sure that one of our fellow members here is taken care of and has an opportunity one day to return back to her home. So it's just really awesome. So thank you, everybody that's involved, and everybody that steps up when you see somebody in need, because that's what makes this community so great. I mean, the things that we tend to squabble about, I mean, it's really small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else, and I really appreciate everybody here. So thank you, everybody.
she's alive today, and that's what matters.
That's right.
Amen.
Thank you, guys. All right, now down to business. Announcement, Clear Creek Conservancy, Dwayne Kelly.
Dwayne Kelly, 282 Patriots Landing. Things pretty quiet over there. Our meeting is this Thursday morning at 10 o'clock, and still, we still need the word to get out on the flushable but non-biodegradable. It's still a thing that we fight all the time, clogging pumps up. And
Tell us what the P's are, Dwayne.
sometimes we can reverse the pump, but when you reverse the pump, it's going to come right back into the pump later. So normally it's pulling the pump and cleaning it out, and that's a very expensive project for the Conservancy.
Thank you, Dwayne. Floyd Township Fire Department, Brian Irvin, I don't believe is here, so Jeff Brooks will say a couple words about fire department.
Memorial Day weekend, the 25th, 26th, and 27th, from 11 to 6, all 3 days, is Ribeye Sandwich Day, and it's a fundraiser for the fire department. If anybody has noticed some cut-up cars at the station, they didn't drive off the curb right there at the station. We brought them over there on purpose to cut up for some extrication training. We'll have another day of that. It's a kind of a fun time for the firefighters, and plus you're learning. We're testing out new equipment to chop cars up and that kind of thing. Also, I wanted to make everybody aware that the weather radio program at the Emergency Operations Center for the county, if you're a Putnam County resident, you show up there, give them your address, your name, sign a piece of paper, they give you a radio for free, a weather alert radio for free. There's no charge of those. They got some grant money to cover those for everybody in the county. You do have to go, you can't send somebody for you, but you have to just drive out there. It's out on the west side of town, southwest side of town, out by the county highway department. And it is a free program, it's free weather radios to all residents of Putnam County.
Thank you, Jeff. Those weather radios are really fantastic. Or it's springtime storm season now, folks, and I have a weather radio, and it'll get your attention. It'll tell you exactly what the emergency is, where it is. It's a really good thing to have, and the price is right, so I encourage everybody to pick one up if they're.
And if anybody goes out and gets one and has any questions or issues about installing it, don't hesitate to contact myself, probably anybody on the board will help you install it, or anybody at the fire station as well.
Thank you, Jeff. Neighborhood Watch, I don't believe April's here. Anybody involved in Neighborhood Watch that has an update? Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I'm involved in it. It's been kind of dormant because of the weather.
Yeah.
But we got a meeting. It's on the calendar on the back of the highlights. So.
All right.
We understand that we're gonna have some police presence, is what I heard. I don't know who it's gonna be.
You mean attending the Neighborhood Watch meetings?
Yeah, the neighborhood watch meeting.
Last year was Rob Salou. I don't know if she's worked that out again this year or not. I don't know.
I'll try to do a better job of contacting April before these meetings to see if she has anything that she wants to have us announce for her. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Ben, but thanks for raising your hand
And
and letting us know.
we discussed various things that are of interest to the community, like cameras, which is a big thing now, and they are very useful in solving crimes.
Have you guys met officially for the beginning of this season yet? Have you had any meetings since?
Yeah, we've had one meeting, but there's only 5 of us there.
Okay,
So it's a small meeting.
all right. Okay, thank you, Ben.
Aren't they having a breakfast? Neighborhood Watch is having a breakfast this weekend at the marina from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. $5 a platter, biscuits and gravy, your choice of casserole, and a sweet treat, bottle of water, or coffee, sponsored by the Neighborhood Watch.
That was the discussion at the last meeting, but my memory's not real good.
Yeah, I think that is on the signs on the entrances to the community as well, so everybody's gotta eat breakfast, and what better place to do it than at the marina, out by the water with your friends, so I encourage everybody to stop by there and grab yourself some food on Saturday.
Just for information, they did help contribute last year to the purchase of our boat, so.
Yep, they do good
We
things.
support 'em.
Yep, for sure. HLCS, Harold Pato,
Nothing really new on highlights,
nothing new on highlights? All right,
same old, same old.
same old, same old. Hellneck, Grant, do you have anything for Hellneck?
They're working on planning, is Jan here?
Oh, I'm sorry, Jan, I didn't see you back there. Don was blocking you.
Absolutely 65 Gettysburg. A couple things, we just want to thank everybody who in any way helped with the Easter egg hunt, whether you donated eggs, candy, participated, brought families, friends, and so on. We had lots of kids, the weather was a little iffy, but we did manage to do it outside. Thanks to Ken for making the siren go off and the kids went running, which was awesome. So we will take recycled eggs, so any plastic eggs people would like to donate, that would be awesome. Save next year, the Saturday before Easter, we'll do it again, weather permitting. Speaking of the outdoor signs, Hellneck has just purchased new letters. I do put up the signs seasonally, and some of the letters are so curved and yellow, and it's embarrassing to try to put them up, for one thing. So we just purchased those for the POA. The next thing coming up for Hellneck is the boat poker run on Saturday, August 17th. We will be working on planning for that, coming up very soon. Brenda Smotherman is going to chair that, but I know she's going to want people to provide docks. And so if you're interested in being a dock host or hostess, let us know. There'll be information in the next highlights hopefully about that. So, any questions about, oh, actually, Boat Poker Run, we are also, it fits with our charitable gaming license. I do believe we're going to have a cornhole tournament. There will be cash prizes. So we will see what happens with that whole thing. But anyway, it has to come under our licensing, and we will be sponsoring that.
What was the date of that poker run?
August 17th. August 17th.
That's awesome, a cornhole tournament. We haven't, I don't think we've had one of those before yet, so.
Well, we haven't had a more official one, I guess. Not one with
People's
prize
private
money
backyards,
payout.
yeah, okay.
So
Good to
we'll
see you
how
back,
it
Jan,
goes.
thank you so
Yeah,
much.
there'll be a flyer with that, with the Boat Poker Run, so.
All right, great, thank you.
Uh-huh.
POA security, I don't believe Brian Helmer's here. I don't know if you have anything.
He's not, he was planning on being here, I did speak to him, but on the way here, I heard him involved in something out here on the radio, so that's
Okay.
probably why he's not here. But I'll get his report and give it to Deborah for the minutes.
All right, Garden Club. Linda Lawler, I believe you're speaking for Anita Johnson. yeah?
Yes. Linda Lawler, Patriots Landing 45. We have successfully received our set of swinging gliders that we purchased and waiting for the weather to cooperate so that a cement pad can be laid to put them on and secure them to. They will be out for display when the weather cooperates. But they are here, right down by the, what do we call that door?
Well, it's the basement door, on the back side of the building.
So if you want to look out a window, you may be able to see them down below. They're here close to the building until that's finished. The pollinator garden process is continuing to go incredibly well. The cleanup committee has given us a grant for the purchase of the seeds. The Bark Park folks have shared their site with us. This week, we will be tilling a 50 by 200 feet, am I correct, Kurt and Tom, they measured it off, strip that will be tilled and seeded in pollinators, in flowers that will tolerate having wet roots, because the area at the Bark Park does stay pretty soggy. And we've made some changes in seed to work with that.
Where is that area exactly?
Lincoln Park is where we're headed.
Park.
Can you put it on the map?
Kurt and Tom, you measured it off. Can you
Well, you know where Lincoln,
approximately
you know
where?
where Lincoln Park is.
Down the north end.
North end of the lake.
There's Lincoln Park Beach, so
That she's,
it would be right on
she's
this,
kind of trying to be done, so.
I guess that
I
would
was
be the
going to
north,
speak a little bit to that.
West.
west side, northwest side,
Okay, so it's up here.
right here.
Oh, back by the woods there? Not on the
No.
beach?
There's a field that's open.
It's a large open area. It's actually big enough for the Bark Park, and there would be 2 more strips that we could do pollinators in the future and really cut back on the mowing that would have to be done over there, which is just super wonderful that we can work together on that. And we're so grateful for the grant. That means that the ladies will only need to come up with the cost of the sand and our blood, sweat, and joy in getting that going. The plant sale that we held, along with everybody's garage sale, was a bust. We only sold 6 plants because of the rainy weather that day. But thanks to the cleanup committee, we're not in a panic about expenses there. And our next big deal is in June, we will go on a tour of gardens throughout the area and try to get people more acquainted with each other, do some plant swapping and some things like that to encourage each other to continue to work on things. And we're getting lots of resources to help us with the rain gardens for next year.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Presentation of agenda. April 8th board meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, before we go any further, William Goupel isn't here today. I have his proxy, so you know. April 29th operations meeting. Any additions or corrections? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to accept.
All in favor? Oh, sorry.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. April 29th, executive meeting. Any additions or corrections? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, guys. Treasurer's report, Jim Johnson?
Our income for April was 134,810. Our expenses were 102,843. That leaves us with an income balance of 31,967, normal for this time of year. Total income year-to-date is 462,139. That's distorted because of both fees and assessments, but it's normal for this time of year. Our expenses are 315,978, so we got a net income of 146,161. Our short-term cash is 641,293. Again, that is distorted because of the timing of our income. It'll be expended out over the summertime as we incur fees for part-time workers and stuff like that. And the total amount of our investments, which are primarily CDs and money market, are $689,044.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Board committee reports. A&E, Ben Fuchs.
Ben Fuchs, 77 Gettysburg. Last month, we didn't have the square footage of one of the houses. It was 1,480 square foot. So that was on March. For April, we had 13 permits, 14 projects. There were 6 houses. They were 1220, 1261, 1432, 1435, 1497, and 2783 square feet. Had 3 fences, 4 docks, and 1 lift.
Okay. Thank you, Ben. Campground, is Denise Hawkins here? Okay, we no longer have a liaison for the campground committee, so I guess we have no report now. I imagine they'll be back up and running here pretty soon. Cleanup committee, Kurt?
Kurt Stoyer, 17 Mill Springs. We just finished up one of our big events with our Toxaway Day and Clean Sweep. We filled up 2 dumpsters. I mentioned this year we went with Jack's. It worked out very well. Jack actually came out himself and helped unload vehicles. And one of the big things was at the end of the day, he loaded up the dumpsters and hauled them off, which saves us a lot of trouble because in the past, people have come by at midnight whenever and dumped stuff in our dumpsters. We took 1 trailer to Greencastle. We work with the West Central Solid Waste District. They do a tox away, we do a tox drop. Of the 3 counties they do, we are the only sub-drop area. They don't allow anyone else to do it. We've been doing it long enough. We're allowed to do it. We know what we're supposed to be doing, and they're glad to have us do that. So we took a trailer full of tires, TVs, and a whole lot of toxic materials. For lunch, we bought Coney dogs from the Siltation Committee. Our next meeting is August. We're not doing anything during the summer. We're just, in August, we'll get ready for fall garage sales and our fall clean sweep. We're trying a new event. We're going to do a shredding event. We're going to bring in one of those big box trucks. This is Saturday, August 10th from 9 to 11. So there'll be more information in the highlights when we get a little bit closer, but it's, they bring a truck in, we line up and we throw boxes and they shred it all up.
Do they shred it right then and there?
Yep, they
so you
shred
can
it.
like see that your stuff being shredded right
I mean,
then
they'll give
and
you a
there?
receipt if you want it,
Okay.
your material was shredded. Right now, we are sponsoring it, which means we're paying for the whole deal. If there's any businesses in the area that would like to co-sponsor, that would really be great. Let's see what else we did. We have purchased 2 aluminum can collection containers, one to put at the marina and one to put over by the pool. So hopefully that will give us even more aluminum cans, and if Don, if you need help, you just holler. Was it?
Did you happen to see the cans that we brought over there? There's like
I didn't see him. Where did you put him?
right all around where the opening is, off to the
Oh,
side, there's
okay.
probably, I'm gonna say 12 to 14 bags.
Did you see all those cans down?
I think seven
That-
bags.
That came from the house that they cleaned up.
When did you count them? I just want, when did you count them?
I moved them from the maintenance building to our trailer.
I just wonder if some,
They were all yellow, so there was other bags in there, but I'm assuming it was just the yellow ones that were stacked outside.
no, there were some dark ones, dark bags
Then
too.
you could up it a couple.
Yeah. I think I counted 12.
That
should-
sounds about right.
Okay. I was hoping nobody took them.
Thank you for that report, Kurt. Your team's done a fantastic job this spring helping get our community nice and spick and span and getting rid of all our garbage that we don't want to have laying around for the busy season. So my compliments to your team. Nice job. Thank you. Government
I could
committee?
address that. Last month, we had our first meeting in a long time. We had 2 people show up. So if we have any interest in people wanting to join the government committee, there's a very fine article that's written on the last page of the highlights. You might want to read that. Our next meeting will be this month, the 21st at 7 p.m. in the clubhouse. So again, anyone interested in coming out to participate, people here in the audience, people listening on YouTube, we certainly appreciate you coming out.
Thank you, Tom. Lake Committee, Kent Hoops, I don't believe Kent is present. Jeff, did you have anything?
I had 2 boaters come to me this weekend. I believe there was a fishing tournament this weekend. They were out on their pontoon boats and had some fishermen who were kind of flying across the lake at breakneck speed. And one of the folks told me that one went in front of them, one went behind them, and probably within distance of throwing something at the boat. So what I would ask is that when the folks are out there, and actually I sat out in the backyard and I watched some of that go on too. If the fishermen would kind of work a little bit with the boaters, and the boaters work with the fishermen as well, but we don't want rules to have to be enforced after somebody gets hurt. So I think that's something we need to watch.
Thank you, Jeff. Clean Water, I don't believe Phil McKinley's present, is he?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Long-term planning, Deborah?
We haven't met yet, anticipating meeting in June.
Okay. Siltation, Dwayne Kelly?
Wayne Keller, 282 Patriots, Linda. Our next meeting is May the 23rd, which is a week from this coming Thursday night. I want to thank Deborah for our siltation luncheon. The dogs brought. Deborah put the whole thing together, got volunteers, got the material. We just showed up and helped a little bit. I tried to keep some track. I was on the grill. I think I cooked about 160 hot dogs and something like 60 or 70 brats. So we had a pretty good turnout. We appreciate the cleanup committees buying their lunch off of us. And so it was a very good turnout for a bad weather day as far as eating out is concerned. But a little windy and cool, but we did have a nice turnout. And I want to thank Deborah and all of her volunteers that she roped into it.
It wasn't
helping us
difficult.
out.
I'd like to just say that we profited $600 after expenses, and there were new volunteers, Debbie Jennings, Alicia Jennings Hendricks, and Denise Atwell, and I really appreciate them coming forward. plus Dwayne and Janet Kelly, Ron Kowalski, and myself. So really appreciate it, and again, thank you to the cleanup committee for making our day.
And I will say that my wife was trying to put hot dogs in the buns and keep the money both.
Yep.
And there were a number of people that made donations when they bought, no change back, just keep it.
That's great.
So forth.
Absolutely, some good donations, thank you. to
Dwayne,
Ron.
thank you for that. Deborah, thank you for your support of that. Cleanup committee again, nice job, everybody. Thank you. HLEPT, John Deegan.
Got it. Good evening, John Deegan, 218 Patriots Landing. Two real quick items tonight. Following the weather radio discussion, Jeff, we've delivered weather radios to the clubhouse, to the marina, and the campground. And just a suggestion, anybody who is obtaining a radio, they ought to program it for not only Putnam County, but also Park County. Because our weather comes from the west, and we might get a few minutes of notice if bad weather has hit Park County before it comes in here into Putnam County. I assume those are the white radios, the Midlands? Yes, sir. Those are great radios, and they'll work very, very well for us. Last item, I see Mary Ann here this evening. Next Red Cross blood drive will be on Tuesday, June 4th. That'll be downstairs, and that's from 2 p.m. until 7 p.m. here in the clubhouse. There's a lot of information on the blood drive in the highlights, or for other questions on it, feel free to call Mary Ann Novak. And my last comment, this is 2A. The next meeting of the emergency preparedness team will be the first Wednesday in June. That's the 3rd, isn't it, I believe?
It's the 5th, I told you.
5th. June 5th, and we meet at 7 o'clock in that room right there. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Election committee, Jim Muhlenbein is not able to attend, but he let me know that thus far, as far as the covenant vote goes, he's received 552 ballots, which is about 18.5%, which isn't great. We're still in the very early stages, obviously, of trying to get everybody to come out and cast their vote for or against the covenant petition that's currently out. We will have time set aside after this meeting to have a discussion during the open forum for anyone that's got a question about the covenants. We'll continue to try to get more visible within the community over the coming months, especially now that we're going to start getting busy. If you haven't voted, get a hold of somebody on the board, ask whatever questions are preventing you from being able to decide which way to vote, and we'll do what we can to help you. There's also a ton of information on the HLPOA website, either under important links where you can hear videos or audio files of 8 different topics around what the covenant vote's all about. There are also the scripts that those audio files were created from under documents, information and documents, I think. So the covenant scripts are all there. So there's a ton of information there. The board is available to anybody that has any questions. So we really encourage people to understand what's going on and cast your vote, because it's really super important. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit here. Miscellaneous reports, manager's report, Ken.
All right, I'd like to welcome 2 new seasonal employees that are Heritage Lake residents. Dave Gibson will be assisting the maintenance guys with ground upkeep, and Jake Shinovich, a young man that will be assisting Lois and Tom at the marina on weekends. The lake buoys have been put into place in the past. After the buoys have been put into place, Kent Hoops and I have gone out and adjust any that may need moved. Kent and I have planned on doing that sometime this week. Pettit Pools was out last week, and they have everything opened and up and running at the pool. The pool is scheduled for opening date of Friday, May 24th. I'll be meeting with Mary Land tomorrow evening to go over preparation and get ready for the upcoming holiday weekend for the supplies in the snack shelf. The Patriots Landing Park area, the 2 picnic tables have been added, the shade structure has been finished. This will be another great place for a picnic and some fishing at the pond located on the backside of the park. Getting some things accomplished around the rain and wet conditions. When the ground is dry enough to get equipment in and not get them stuck, we need to have several loads of mulch added to the playground areas. I also have purchased paint to put a fresh coat on all of the playground equipment that we kept with the new equipment that was added late last fall. Each year, we normally add a load of clean sand to each beach location. We will attempt to get that accomplished before the Memorial Weekend. And finally, I have instructed the security staff to step up the efforts on asking for POA cards. In this young 2019 season already, we have removed 3 boats from the water that did not belong here. You as a POA manager, you as a POA member, it is not okay to invite just anyone to launch a boat that is not registered as an owner or with proper documentation. This is a quick way to get your privileges suspended. So for this reason, I would request that if you are asked for your POA card, just please cooperate. One of the, I think it was two Saturdays ago, some gentleman from Kane, Indiana, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that, said that he had launched his boat prior to 6 a.m. and this was about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Had been fishing all day, and there was a resident out here who told him it was okay to come out and drop his boat and fish. So I made her join me at the marina, and she's very clear that that can't happen. So just please be patient with the guys, because I have asked them to step up those efforts to ask for your POA cards. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Ken. Old business A, gate access installation update. Jeff Brooks?
Gate access installation is still moving forward. With a slider gate with an electric opener, with a keypad off to the side, so people will have to get out of their vehicle to hit that button, open the gate. It's not just going to drive up and open up. Right now, the contractor, TMJ, is just waiting for a little bit drier weather, because he's getting behind in his work because of the weather. You get a couple poles sunk and then start getting things going, so that's where we're at with that.
We're also gonna have, if you see the agenda, there's a separate item for the item burn area update, so we're not gonna roll that into this specific discussion. This was just to cover where we are with the actual gate itself, so. Any questions from guys on the board? If you remember, we already voted in the last board meeting to approve the expense to get the gate installed, so we're continuing to work that. Any ETA on that?
No, it's, right now, weather's just
Just
got into
right.
it. He said mid-May before he gets started anyway, so
Okay.
we should be coming up anyhow.
All right, thank you, Jeff. New marina update, Paul Forbes.
We had a meeting last, I don't remember the day. Well, we had a meeting, and there were about half of the subcommittee members at that meeting. We met with Brant. We looked at another quasi-virtual reality into a structure that is proposed. We've talked about some numbers. We are, between now and the next ops meeting, going to circulate a better list of those numbers and also suggestions on financing and or possible limits and scope, so that the board can see it. The subcommittee members will see it prior to that, and then we'll be discussing at the ops meeting how the board would like to continue, and immediately following probably the next board meeting, hopefully we'll have a discussion and a kind of a overall scope of what we're going after for the marina project, so that we can then schedule meetings for the community.
Just a reminder that the May operations meeting isn't gonna go forward due to the Memorial holiday, so I don't know if that changes how you wanna
Yeah, we'll
present
talk
the
about
information
that.
you would have included.
We may have to put together, you know, I would certainly like by the end of May or the first part of June to at least have some discussions about where we are, so that we can at least move forward to meeting with the people of the community and getting their input. We want to give them an idea of what we've seen, what we've heard, and there'll be a presentation available for the kind of structures we can and we want to build for the community, and hopefully, you know, have that done.
So in those discussions prior to the next board meeting then, are you looking for members of the board to be invited to that, to hear the information, since we're not gonna have the ops meeting? You good with
Absolutely.
that? Okay. So,
So we'll just be in contact, you know.
do you have a
I
meeting
forgot
scheduled with
about-
them already, or is it?
We do not.
Okay.
We don't right now.
No,
Okay.
no. And, I would, yeah, I'll definitely, be scheduling something,
Okay.
and we'll be in contact with them and you and all the members of the board to hopefully, you know, meet somewhere. I mean, if it has to be my house, that's fine, or the marina, that's fine, or someplace to talk, so that we can move forward.
Yeah, because I think the exciting part, certainly for the community, I think people are anxious to see what's been done so far, what the
It's
possibilities
pretty cool.
are, and,
The
yeah. So it
options
sounds
are-
like we're getting closer to that.
The options are very cool.
Okay.
I think we're getting close to presenting the community with some options that you'll be very excited about. And I think the new marina is gonna be cool,
You guys
no
have
matter
any
what we
questions?
decide.
You guys are building that based off of all the not the ballots, I'm sorry, you said some ballots.
Community input survey?
The survey,
Oh, yeah.
thank you, the surveys that you guys
Correct.
took last, or 2 years ago? A year
That's
ago?
correct.
Yep.
It was a while ago.
There's a lot of information. You know, the other thing I would suggest to the board members, if you have never read the long-term plan, this is a good time to read it. There was a lot of money and a lot of effort spent to put that together. That has always been suggested before you get on the board to read that. There's some good information in there, not only for Heritage Lake, but for other lake communities. And that information is very pertinent to what our aspirations are, what our community thinking is for the future. Now, you know, obviously, there's a lot of mindsets when it comes to spending money and doing something new and different. So I would suggest reading those. And I would also suggest talking to all your neighbors to find out what everybody wants. It's going to be very important to give your opinions. We're pretty excited about it. It's going to be a good, there's a big scope there, and prices are going up.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's a necessity. Our current structure is in really rough shape. It's almost to the point of being dangerous. We're gonna have to do something for sure, so I think we're excited to see what's coming down the road and what we could be looking at, so. Thank you, Paul. Just keep the board apprised as to when you're ready to have a session with Grant and give us an opportunity to
You have
take a
anything,
look.
Jim?
No, we've got quite a bit of information, so it'll be forthcoming very fast.
Okay. All right. Walking trail update. So at the last board meeting, if you all remember, we were talking about a walking trail that the Eagle Scouts have been working on for, I don't know, a little bit over a year and a half or so. They put in a nice mulch trail through the north end where next to the siltation pond, goes through the woods. It's really nice, a lot of wildlife and stuff back there. Well, they came across some low spots that were pretty muddy, and they were looking for opportunities to make improvements there, so they brought a couple proposals to the board as far as adding a little footbridge and a suspension bridge. They have nice drawings worked up and got some donations, and we're pretty much gonna be able to cover the cost, but at Tom's prompting, they were asked to check with IDEM just to make sure that there weren't any issues between them and the DNR, and come to find out there were. It was an area that needed permits in order to build on because it was through a floodplain, I guess. So at that time, they said that the scouts weren't really interested in further pursuing it. It was out of their scope to learn how permit processes work, so I think they were fine to just concentrate on the smaller part of the project, add a couple benches, add just the regular footbridge over a little gully that was starting to form. So Ken volunteered to talk to Kyle Young at the last board meeting to find out if the permitting was a deal breaker or if there was something that he could do to help. So Ken?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't a financial decision that he was backing out that we could possibly assist with, and he said it was not a financial decision. It was just a scope of work that he felt like that they didn't want to take on. So
Okay. So I think that's probably the last time we'll be talking about the walking trail unless something else drastic happens. So it's cool. If none of you have seen that area before, it's right at the north end, just slightly north of the first actual street past Lincoln Park. It's a nice little entrance to a wooded area. You walk through it, there's mulch down, and it's a nice little peaceful, the water's running beside you as you're going down the path. So it's a cool little spot, and there's all kinds of good stuff. So
he did say in place of the bridge that they may consider like some stepping stones to cross the creek. So.
Cool. Okay. New business A, the IDEM burn meeting update. So as about everybody should be aware by now, the burn area over by 30 acres is no longer accepting anything. We got hit again by IDEM for violating Indiana code for open burning. So on May 1st, Ken, Paul, Tom, and Jeff and I had a meeting with IDEM downtown in Indianapolis, and we had about an hour or two session, really informative. We had a lot of back and forth dialogue. They're not mad at us, but they did make us aware of a lot of things that we're not allowed to do. And as far as us managing that area for burning our debris, I think it's going to be really tough for us to be able to use it for that anymore without some different changes in strategy about what exactly we want to try to pursue now. There are a couple options for us as far as trying to obtain permits for when we do burn, and even if we get the permits, there's all kinds of stipulations and restrictions about what and how we can do that. So there was some information given to us about that, as well as air curtain destructors, which help control the smoke that's caused by the fires that we burn. Residents can still burn on their own properties, but residents are supposed to burn in containers. Now, I'm not looking around to see if people are burning in containers every time I see some smoke, but this is a rural community. We're aware, I think, that not everybody does that. But just for your information, that is a rule as well. And anybody that burns in that open area is what was the rule on that? The POA is responsible regardless of whether if it's a POA member that burns it, some contractor that isn't a member, if it's a POA employee, it doesn't matter. The POA association as a whole is responsible for anything that happens if somebody's burning, so pretty serious consequences. So I guess the next step for us is to talk about what we want to do with that area. We have a couple options. Number one is to stop burning altogether for all materials, including leaves. Second one is to allow residents to only bring leaves to the burn area, but that creates a burden on Ken and his staff to try to manage what to do with it after. Third option is to allow residents to bring branches, stumps, trees, trunks, etc. up to the 30 acres, and we would figure out a way to have those chipped. That could be very costly, and really we're trading one nuisance, which is smoke, with another nuisance, which is noise, because those chippers are not quiet. The fourth option is to use a dumpster for disposal of debris. That's pretty much a management nightmare as well. Trying to get people to take stuff off of their trailers and put it into the dumpsters correctly, put the right stuff in the dumpsters. And the fifth option is to allow leaves and tree debris to continue to be dumped at the 30 acres and potentially bury the materials. So those are the things that we had talked about, those of us that attended that meeting. So as a board, I think we're open to talking about what we want to do next and according to what these options are, how we want to proceed.
I was across the street in spirit.
Yeah, I know. I saw AJ the very same day, right across the street, and I was going in the parking garage. He was working on one of the gates there, so half the board was downtown that same day, so.
If I might add a couple things that we took away from it was, we could bury it, but that's total separate permit. I mean, we would have to go to a totally separate department. The other thing is the permits to burn it. We could go through all the hoops and get the permits. But even though we have the permit, all it takes is one person to complain about it, and we still gotta extinguish it. And I'm certain this one individual will call every time we like, so.
Hey Ken, I know the dumpster idea is kind of a expensive nightmare type situation, but could we do it sort of like the clean sweep type thing, where it's like once or twice a year, we kind of provide that service, instead of it being a continual thing, or people just willy-nilly dump all over the place, we just say, okay, this weekend is gonna be leaf collection weekend or something, and we turn it into some sort of an event type situation where we bring in, like I said, I didn't get to go to the meeting, but I'm just thinking.
Have you ever tried to throw brush over the side of a 30-yard dumpster? That's what we were talking about running into, that's the job.
Well, no, but I'm saying, if he's out there with that loader, one
I
of
understand
the
what you're saying,
tractors.
that's not a bad idea. I mean,
Put it in
if
the
we get
bucket?
stuck.
Put it in the bucket,
and
just
that's
drive
all
up,
we-
dump it in the
yeah,
bucket,
I mean,
and dumps it in the
have
dumpster.
volunteers
Two
out there
doors,
to help
smash it.
for 2 days, just like they do Cox Day.
Just something
You never know.
that at least gives people, instead of people just willy-nilly burning it in their yards,
I will say that,
you know.
I will say that you need to,
Put that
you
in.
probably need to imagine how much stuff we are talking about. We have been burning since, what, 1975? And the amount of volume, we're not talking a couple dumpsters here.
Oh, I know.
There's a lot.
And throwing it in a dumpster, unless you have a way of packing it, it's not gonna be real efficient.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna have a lot of airspace in it unless it's packed some way.
You could chip into a dumpster, but then you got the noise.
Noisy.
Noise.
I know, but that's.
We're not
what-
worried
but-
about noise. Why we wouldn't worry about noise down there? We've got dredging, we've got fire station, we've got construction, phooey on the noise. It's gonna be noisy. Chipping it wouldn't take that long.
I'm saying if you did it for one day, one weekend or something like that, run a chipper, yeah, I mean, that's not the greatest thing in the whole world, but.
I can't address it. I talked with a local trash company, Race Trash, because I know they do have tub grinders. They came out and looked at the site. They said to mobilize all the equipment out there, probably about $7,500, and we can have enough brush right now to warrant bringing all the equipment out there. The mulch is still usable mulch for trails, for garden areas. It's a good base mulch to put the prettier mulch over the top of it. The other thing, and this is what they suggested might be a better avenue, is they'd bring 4 or 5 dumpsters out and an excavator with a claw on it, or with a thumb on it. They would load it all up, compact it into the dumpsters, and haul it away for about $4,500. To me, that's a doable deal. It gets it out of there, and even at that point, we could still continue to collect brush. I think Paul and I are definitely in agreement on leaves got to go somewhere. They can't be staying in yards, they can't be burning. They've got to go out there. We need to leave it open for leaves. I think we've talked about that enough.
Because they'll end up in the lake. People will just.
They're gonna end up in the lake, they're gonna end up burning at home. And we've had, being on the fire department, we've had a couple of brush fires. One was a homeowner clearing 3 lots, and the fire did not get lit till after dark. that kind of sends up a red flag right there. You don't want anybody seeing it, but, you know, a big flame in the sky
Pardon
kind
me?
of gets
They
people.
didn't want anybody to see it.
Yeah, if they figure they burn it out, you can't see the smoke. Just chase the fire. That's true, you can't see the smoke. That was his comment.
I think
Kinda like
that was after the first 12
waiting
packs.
until dark to light a cigarette. Nobody will see me.
Exactly. And as far as home burning, Chris is right. If you're burning a home, it's supposed to be in a container of some sort, a burn pit with sides on it. That does count as a chimney. Actually, the code calls for a chimney to control the smoke. But a burn pit with sides on it does constitute a chimney in IDM's mind. But there's also limits. You can't, I think it's 1,000 cubic feet, or excuse me, 1,000 cubic yards of brush is the most you can burn, period. So you can make a real big burn pit, but you can only have so much in it to burn.
Yeah, conundrum. So what do we do, guys?
Well, I think we move forward and figuring out what our possibilities are. I mean, we know what our possibilities are. We probably just need to move forward and
We haven't looked into
talk
the
to a
cost.
farmer.
We haven't looked into the cost of the permits, for one, I don't think,
That's the
right?
first
Ken?
step, yeah, with the new permit guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that has to be eliminated first of all. You know, with
I mean,
all
as an
government,
option, you mean?
with all government agencies, in my experience, what actually can happen depends a lot on the guy who's in charge. So we ought to start there. Find out what kind of permit we can get, what he thinks is a possibility of, and tell him point blank. We might have somebody call and say, they're burning, and I don't like it. What happens then? You know, and see what he says.
You got the name of
Yes.
a guy to contact,
Uh-huh.
right? So we have a contact to go to.
We do.
Talk about
We do.
maybe what his recommendations would be, how feasible, maybe have him come out, take a look at what we got. Because really, IDEM is environmental protection, right? And
Yeah.
we don't just have the water for our environment. There's a lot of elements out here. We've got the greenscapes, we've got nature areas, we've got homes, the community. There's a lot of things to consider, but this has a huge impact on all those other things. Tom, you were gonna say something?
Just the only thing, regarding that, as Ken brought up, right in the document we received, if you get a permit, one of the requirements is if it can't produce a nuisance. So we just have to keep that in mind, as Ken identified.
Absolutely.
One individual could call up and say, this is causing a nuisance, and then it would have to be extinguished, shut down, and probably we'd be fined again.
Well, I think we make it clear through this contact, because he's in charge of the permits, and have him make it clear exactly what's gonna happen if and when a person becomes the carrier of the nuisance. That's their big word, IDEM. When someone complains, it's called a nuisance. If they get a nuisance, they have to act by law. And that was made clear to all of us. So we'll see what this guy says. If somebody calls, are we done? Or can we wait a day? Do we have to do it next week? Do we have to wait for the wind to shift? And see what he says.
No, you want to brainstorm?
Sure. I don't think we're gonna be in a position to vote on anything tonight, but I
No.
think we need to talk about it, especially for the guys that weren't at the meeting and didn't hear all the information. I mean, we're looking at, what can we do? I mean, we gotta figure out a way to dispose of this stuff. People could be responsible for hauling their own stuff away to wherever they wanna haul it to. Become friends with the farmers, because the farmers can open burn on their property with basically no restriction, so, there's a lot of farm guys out here, so.
No, they can't. IDEM's been on my dad's farm and shut down our burning in the woods.
Really, because they told us that they can open burn.
Just depends on the guy, I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, so that goes to the point, I mean, I
And
think
in
we've
the
got,
county too.
we have to come up with some kind of alternatives and put them on the table and pick the one that makes the most sense for us. It's a tough situation.
We have to pick a permanent solution,
That'd be nice.
because
Yeah.
if there's going to be a solution. Because I can tell you that what I learned in that meeting is that things have been going on for a long time, and only because somebody complained, it's cut up. And there's areas around here that are still burning that aren't allowed to burn. Bainbridge being one of them. They have a burn site for their community. Well, nobody's called to complain because all Bainbridge wants to do is continue to burn. So that's the problem. The problem is probably 99% of the people in our community would love to keep the burn site going. 1% doesn't want it to go, so we're closed.
But look, on the inefficiency side of the, big vessels and throwing limbs and stuff in there.
Dumpsters, yeah.
We have a generous Patriots Landing near area person that says that the noise pollution of the chopper wouldn't bother him. Maybe we can do a combination, where we bring down large branches and stuff, chip them, get our loaders, dump them into that thing. We can maximize the use of that to try to save money. It's gonna cost us a lot of money.
Chip it straight into the dumpster. So what if?
It's
Can you
gonna
do that?
be-
I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, you can.
It's gonna be an ongoing thing too. I mean, we're always gonna have trees, we're always gonna have debris,
It's gonna be
we're
a
always
budget
gonna have
item
people
every
trying to.
year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But we could leave the stuff there. I mean, it doesn't have to be chipped the minute it gets dropped off, right? I mean.
No, that's what Ray said, if they,
Yeah, from
right
the
now,
equipment
there's not
standpoint.
enough brush for them to grind, and they grind trees wide as this table. There's not their grinders will grind that big of stuff, so
Wow.
somebody brings big equipment out there, they'll even run stumps through it. But right now, we did, pardon?
What was the cost, I'm sorry?
He said $7,500 to mobilize all the equipment to come out there. Right now, we don't have enough brush to really, he said, to make it worth our while. Okay, so we collect once a year, we grind the
That's
brush.
for the equipment. There's also a fee for
No,
pickup and disposal.
he's gonna grind it up and drop it right there in the ground. We could actually push it right, actually being mulch, at that point, it is shredded mulch, just like what you go buy at the store, just hadn't been treated. You can put it in your yard, the garden club could use it.
Could Bobby use it?
So if we,
Who's Bobby?
if we shredded
Radish?
it,
Hang on, Grant's got.
if we shredded it once a year
Mhm.
and then left it there for, give an amount of time, like 3, 4, I don't know how long it would last, 4 months maybe. And then we showed up with a dumpster and used a backhoe or something and shoot the rest of that off. Would that kind of be more of a, so once a year grind and then a couple months later, leave it open for the people to take or whoever needs it and then
Wouldn't need
dumpster
as
it?
many dumpsters.
Yeah.
Which is what a lot of communities do right now.
Yeah. Do you have?
You also
to
got, you also gotta consider
About
animals,
500
right?
cases.
Nesting and stuff, if you have all that debris laying around, there's opportunities for wildlife to get up in there too. Way too
We got
much.
so many animals.
So have
out here
that for
now.
humanity, for the animals is what you're saying? We're
Hey,
creating
hey,
habitat.
quiet, guys.
Big.
Chris.
Don't make me use it.
Chris uses it all the time.
So,
Go ahead.
is part of the deal that we can't have debris there at all?
No.
'Cause it-
No,
All you
No,
do-
we can have the debris.
Pile it up.
So I'm saying if we had mulch, we could just spread it out.
You gotta create the mulch.
For a
though.
while.
Right, but I'm saying if you had the thing and, I mean, it's gonna.
Over time, it'll be 15 feet high.
Well, yeah.
Well, they encourage composting, the leaves. We asked the lady about the leaves, she said, oh yeah, keep those coming out, because they'll just compost. So I've gone over there and got a couple pickup loads of the compost. After I throw the beer cans out of the way, it's not too bad of stuff. And it's, put it in the garden, it's good stuff.
The compost is fine, but will it compose quick enough?
Yeah.
I mean, it's, to his
Yeah.
point, I think, it's an ongoing thing every day, 365 days a year. I mean,
Leaves and stuff will, sticks and mulch will probably take a little bit longer, but I mean, eventually, if we left it there long enough, it would eventually turn into something.
We'd almost have to learn how to manage it. you know, in different rows over years and times.
Yeah, and
But we could do that.
big enough property over there, we could do like a run for, you know, year 1 through 5 or something, and year 5 through 10, 10 or 10 to 15, and then by the time it's all done, whatever the rows start again.
over again.
But we also have to consider Vernon on the staff and Ken to manage all that with their equipment and manage who's going in and out of there, what they've got, where it goes.
It's hard to allocate that expense
That's,
too.
that's
Maybe-
resources there too.
Maybe we can set
That's
it up like
budget.
the city dump.
Hmm?
Maybe we can set it up like the city dump, where they start at like one end, and you just keep throwing stuff in, and it eventually gets to, like, you get down to the end of the row, you start at the far end, you get close to the end of the row, and then you start again. It may cut down on what needs to be managed and things like that.
If we left it there, I think that area was originally for siltation. And I think we're gonna, we may fill that area up quicker with wood chips than we would siltation. And at some point in time, we may be looking for another place for siltation. Well, then we're gonna have the expense of having it all dug out and hauled through.
Well, the mulch itself, if it were run through regular tub grinder and mulched up, not just as clean enough for homeowner use, you get enough of it there. Waste Management in Danville, they use it for cover. You'd be surprised at how quick you go through some mulch out there. And I gotta replace my mulch every year, so it's going somewhere. So it's decaying pretty quick.
But we gotta start.
Yeah, so I think, first thing to do is for Ken to reach out to his contact, find out what kind of options we might have.
See if I become buddies with it.
Exactly.
Be my
Turn on the
BFF.
charm, man, it's for the community.
Maybe my BFF.
I really think there's enough alternatives here and enough possibilities that after Ken makes his first contact, that possibly a subcommittee with volunteers from the community get together with maybe one board member or what have you to expedite looking at those possibilities. It's not, if we go from the board meeting with suggestions and alternatives and.
Time's ticking, meanwhile, everybody starts
Exactly.
piling up.
Pretty
Yeah,
soon
I
we're gonna be
agree.
in the fall
I
and
agree.
we're in a pickle.
Yep,
So,
so that's a really good point. Ken, I would like you to go ahead and talk to your IDEM guy. We'll come back at the next board meeting, and based on that option, and if you have any more prices or anything
Yeah, I'll
as far as
talk
the
with
equipment,
McCarty
if you
and
can,
they'll find
if you can write something down to give us options and equipment and time and whatever, then we can come back and probably get an ad hoc committee put together to do some of this research, follow up on this, and try to help us out, because I don't think that the board, the members here on the board have the time to keep voting to that and everything else that we're trying to manage, so I think that's a great idea. I'm sure members of the garden club would probably have some good input, the cleanup committee might have some good input, siltation committee might have some good input, and get some really good folks together and help us to find a solution for this problem. Sound good?
Good.
Tom, you good?
Sure.
Okay,
move on.
so we'll put that on, old business A for the next board meeting. Okay, Bark Park, Ken Roselle.
Alrighty, just to clarify that what Linda was talking about a little bit ago, there's nothing set in stone with the Bark Park. All we done so far is identify a location that could possibly work. There's a lot of homework that needs to be done yet. It is the estimated size is about 114 feet by 76 feet. One of the things that I thought was best if we spoke with the neighbors that was immediately impacted, and I've spoke with three, one of them, well, those three would be probably the most impacted, and they were all okay with it. So at this point, it's just all preliminary. We've done that part of the homework. We got to get some prices together on what it's going to cost, and then at that point, we will present a location, cost to the board for discussion and/or approval. So that's where we're at with the Bark Park location.
I got one question with respect to the potential location of Lincoln Park. That's waterfront. We got the boat slips there, and we got a little bit of playground area and stuff. We don't have any fears that there's gonna be too much there in that compressed area.
Well, it's there's no doubt that with the pollinator garden in the Bark Park is pretty much gonna chew up that large grassy area there, so.
By the woods, you mean, before the hill, or between the parking lot and the boat slips?
From, parking lot to the boat slips, that big grassy area there, starting with the
Slides to
pollinator.
the north, right there,
Yeah.
right?
Correct,
Right.
And there's houses that border that.
yes, and those are the 3 homes that I spoke with. That was an area that was proposed to me, and that's what, we're just gonna do our homework and present it to the board, so.
Okay.
Has there been any research, Ken, into any insurance liability, or additional cost, or types of dogs, vaccinated dogs, spayed and neutered dogs, all that good kind of stuff that jumps right in there.
Cindy, we have talked to insurance about that, haven't we?
Yes, we went to Eagle Creek and talked to them about, how many problems they had. They've had it for 5, 7, 8 years, no longer than that, because Charlie started it. And they said they may have one issue, and that was it. But yeah, as far as like, are we gonna make them pay to go in there? Are we gonna have definite rules, no rules? That's something that we need to go over with that time.
Access, I mean, if it's decided that all dogs have to have vaccinations, if one dog's got parvo and goes in and drops a big load in the middle of the grassy area,
Right.
and then Jim's dog goes over there and gets parvo, somebody's gonna be responsible or liable for that. So we have to, how do we monitor dogs' vaccinations, their health, their rabies vaccinations, and then once 10 people, their dogs are good, they wanna go take their dogs over there, how do we keep somebody out? Are we gonna have, a locking gate, are we gonna have gate access, we're going back to gate access, Chris. That kind of thing, that's one of the concerns. I've heard some other folks talk about it too. Hey, I love dogs, got cats, but, I don't know if that's a liability that the community could stand if something were to happen. I mean, if Curtis went over there, every dog would bite him. We love you, Curtis.
I think that's something either the board would decide and tell us what to do. I don't think that's something as a committee, because with something like that being done, then once again, you're putting more on Ken's staff.
Cindy, I got a question.
What'd you say?
Go ahead.
My hearing's bad.
We're putting more pressure on Ken's staff to do monitoring of the dogs and
Yeah.
things like that.
In municipalities, for instance, Indianapolis, and I don't know if Eagle Creek does the same thing, but you have to submit, you have to submit paperwork that says your dog has been, had its shots before you can get a pass to go into the dog park.
Right.
So I would assume we're gonna have to have something like that out here.
Well, if you guys remember, we've talked about this for quite some time. I sent out an email to all board members asking for questions you may have, and then we took it to Eagle Creek and asked them those questions along with the ideas. So we've got a lot of those questions already documented somewhere.
Okay.
I got just one further question, then we can move on to the next thing. But in the research that Cindy, between you and Ken have done, have you researched any bark parks or dog parks within the confines of a community, or has it had, it's just been public park type settings? Is there such a thing as just neighborhoods that have their own private dog park and just their residents use it? Is,
I'm sure there is, yeah.
Okay.
We've done it Eel Creek and Greencastle.
right, but those are public, right? So those are more like parks, instead of just a neighborhood that has, or a subdivision, or POA or HOA or whatever, that just has it within the community that's surrounded by residents instead of just an open park type thing. I was just wondering if there's other examples out there to understand the challenges that they've had and how they've managed them.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because I think that's a little bit different element than something like Eagle Creek would be.
No way.
I'm sure you guys will come back with more stuff as you continue, but.
I mean, we could, yeah.
I mean, at this point, I think we, you know, we come up, like I said before, we come up with a couple options, locations. We gotta get a price together, whether it's feasible or not. There's a lot of leg work that needs to be done before we even kind of,
Okay.
then let the questions fly.
All right. Okay, thank you for that update.
I'll find that question.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. That just might be a different variable. Okay, next on the agenda is the open forum. What I'd like to do is take any items that aren't covenant specific first, and then once everybody has their basic questions out of the way about whatever you want to talk about, then we can have a discussion about the covenants last. So what I ask is, number one, you stand up, you state your name, you state your lot number, ask whatever question you want, or have a discussion about what you're talking about, or what you'd like to talk about with the board. Be respectful, no yelling. We're not here to argue, we're just here to have productive discussions. If things get out of hand, we'll have to take action. So those are the rules on the table. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? Nope? Go ahead.
Shannon Lieb, 2 Lincoln Hills. Is there anything I left out?
Nope.
I was on planning committee for many years and chairman of that committee. And one issue that I haven't looked at the website, so maybe this is on the website, but it had been brought up several times about a water supply. What if we start running out of water here at the lake? Are we gonna wait like Bainbridge did and then have water shipped in from Broachdale? How are we gonna approach this? I brought this up in the committee, and I was told by committee members at that time, well, it'd be too expensive to have a geological survey to find out where the water supplies are. I checked with, I don't know, like maybe it was IDEM or whoever, and they said we can't determine that. You know, we could drill holes everywhere, and that still wouldn't tell us where the water was. So all they could do was recommend some sort of, if the water supply is running low, that people are told that they could only on alternate days, you know, they can wash their car or sprinkle their lawn or whatever. And when it was addressed to the Conservancy District, which would be the obvious place to go, I was told that it was too expensive, we couldn't afford to do it. There is nothing that's too expensive to get done. It has to get done. This community would, property values would go down. People would say, oh, you know, is my property gonna run out of water? Maybe it'll only be limited to a couple of houses, which it already is. But we should be finding out what it's gonna do, what's gonna take, and what we can do now, proactively, before we get to the point of, oh, it's a problem, like Bainbridge did. So I'm putting this down, so I'm carrying all this baggage from the past. This is a totally new board, has no history of this information. So I'm bringing this up as an issue, and there are 2 committees that can actually talk about this. It doesn't have to be a board or the manager. There's A&E, because the E stands for environment. All we do is talk about architecture and approve building. And there's planning, which also, this is definitely long-range planning. Now, if it's in the long-range plan, you said it's already on the website, great. If it's not,
We're not talking about that on the website.
so I'm just saying, it needs to be addressed. I certainly would have no problem with being part of an ad hoc committee or whatever it takes to go even to the state legislature and find out what should be done, because that's ultimately what will have to be done.
Now, I know Phil McGinley has been very active in watershed management and clean water and those types of issues. I don't know if that's something else that he's looked at already, because he looks at a lot of the water issues himself, which is under the long-term planning committee, which was kind of on hiatus over the most of last year because we lost the chair. So that committee stopped meeting for the majority of last year, but Deborah's trying to get everybody wrangled back up together, and Phil is involved in that, I believe, still, so.
Is Phil involved in that?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good place to start.
Yeah.
So did he make a report to the committee, to the board?
No. What she's saying is that might be a good umbrella for this particular specific item to fall under.
He's worked a lot, like with the water quality from the feeder streams, the local farms in the area. We've done a lot of watershed evaluations, so.
So he gave that report to the.
I don't know what report he's done, but I know he's been involved.
There's
in that,
been
yeah.
no view of this at board level. None.
I mean, watershed or anything?
Well, we don't do, we get,
Well, she mentioned it.
wait, I am not arguing with your.
No, I'm just saying,
Here, just let me give you a pretty big picture, okay? I know I've got enough information about this to be dangerous. This is not a watershed issue. The relationship between groundwater and surface water is only randomly connected. We could have two neighbors have their wells within 100 feet of each other, and one could be pulling from a well in Terre Haute, and the other one could be one straight down below them. Because we don't know how the gradients are underneath our earth.
Sure.
This is an infrastructure problem. Even if we were able to manage bringing water in, we have no pipes that would go to the houses. So you're talking about a multi-million-dollar project, and maybe we should do it.
Well, we should at least be aware, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, I think we should throw, I'm with you.
We should be proactive and find out, what is the cost? Because when I was told, well, we just couldn't afford it, it's like, that's not an excuse
Well, we
to
can't
not
afford-
do something.
We can't afford it
You
without
need
getting
to
money.
get
Yeah.
ahead and find out the information. If we can't, then we should let people know who are coming out here to buy. We should be telling them, if the water supply ever runs out, this community's gonna dry up. I mean, but we're not gonna let that happen. We're gonna have to figure out how to solve the problem. Just to say that we can't solve the problem is not a reason to go ahead and find out a way to solve it.
I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, it's a good topic, Shane.
Prior boards didn't think so.
I think we're all interested in it for sure.
Okay, well, do you want to form an ad hoc committee and start working on this?
Well, I think it should still probably fall under long-term planning. Deborah, if you agree, then
I
once
agree.
Deborah gets her team together, I'm sure she's gonna wanna have you involved in that, and you guys can figure out which one.
Looks like you got a new member, Deborah.
Looks like you got a new member.
Well,
Okay, in the interest of time, are we good? We'll have Deborah take the lead on that then?
She's going to email me on this.
I'm just trying to pull members together.
Okay.
I've not been involved in it. Harold needed a co-chair, I volunteered.
Oh, I see. So
Now
you're
we're,
co-chair.
yeah, we're just trying to pull everybody back together and get a grasp on what we're gonna do.
Okay.
How we're gonna go about business.
So when do you meet?
We haven't set a date.
Oh, okay. I mean, we used to meet third Tuesday at 7, but I don't know when we meet.
We'll reach
She'll
out
get in
to
touch
you,
with you.
for
When
sure.
when they're ready to
We'll
pull
reach out
everybody
to you.
together, we'll,
Yeah.
thank you, Shannon.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else?
Kind of in segue to what
Name.
Shannon was talking about a little bit.
Name
with
and
the-
lot,
Oh,
please.
sorry. Thank you. Anita Kamek, 88 Mill Springs. And I just wanted to bring this up, and it was a good segue here. Last fall, I had emailed Ken and asked Ken if Heritage Lake Group property had been the culprits of spraying along 725. I don't know if anybody noticed, there was some very significant spraying from about ground to maybe 8 or 10 feet up on either side of the road on 725. I had been involved in the Clean Water Committee, so, you know, kind of had an eye to that. I was very concerned because I feel like that was significant toxic spraying along that road, and you can probably see it, I think, still, where the greenery is not coming back along that road right now. So Ken said, no, we didn't do anything with that. So I just, and for this board, I think it's important to understand if the county's spraying there, because that would go into our watershed. You know, any sort of really toxic compounds that are being used along there.
They asked that question at the commissioners meeting, and they said they did not do any spraying.
A lot of farmers take it upon themselves to do that.
And I couldn't tell exactly where it had begun. It looked as though it started about 525 there at the Y, at 525 and 725, at the Y clear to, you know, the curve past Pizza Den as you're going toward 36. I mean, on either side of the road, things were brown and dead. And again, I've been looking this spring as I go out. I go out every morning, and it looks to me like it's not coming back. So to me, that's a significant toxicity. Excuse me. So I think it's important to be aware of that, and if we find that the county's doing that, because I had lodged a complaint with, and I meant to look it up before I came here. It might have been DOT, I'm not quite sure. It had to go through sort of a carousel of phone calls to get to the right person. So I didn't get any sort of response, just a, you know, thank you for your complaint type of thing. But to me, that's critical. So I just wanted to bring that up, and I hadn't actually intended to do that. I've been thinking about it, but that was a good segue. So I just wanted to bring that up and
So
let
a
everybody
positive point
be
that
aware.
we've had our lake water tested after that, and our water tested really good.
That's good news. Yeah. That's good news. I guess the other thing is too, from a personal standpoint, I don't want to be exposed to any sort of toxins like that. I think Lake and Clean Water Committee works really hard to like do the windshield surveys and what's happening in our watershed. And, you know, having just been involved in that, and then to see like this toxic spraying, I just thought, oh, this is, you know, this is awful in my community. This is my community, and I didn't agree to it, so, you know, who's doing this to us? So, anyway.
Thank you, Anita.
On that, I have to exit.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Jan?
Jan Silly, 65 Gettysburg. I would just like to thank everyone who contributed and continued to contribute to the Heritage Lake Scholarship Program. We have one very worthy candidate this year who will receive, I believe, a $1,500 scholarship, thanks to the generosity of all of you, and fundraising that we've done each year for several years for the scholarship breakfast that we have in conjunction with the Easter egg hunt. And so special thanks to Ken and Judy Roselle and Casey's for the awesome cinnamon rolls that sell out every year, and Tom for helping with the cooking, and some others that also helped with that effort. So again, thanks to all of you for the support. We do have a very small, I think 5, our little bylaws for our scholarship committees, like 5 people. We've lost a couple people, including Charlie and Neil Schneider, and looking to replace, you know, their presence. So if anyone is interested, please let me know for our committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Anybody else? Jana?
Yeah, I can defer my second topic to the next meeting if you want to quickly move into the closed session, because
Is it a quick one? Is it non-covenant related, or?
it's non-covenant
Okay.
related.
We can get it in real quick here if it's not too long.
No, it's actually quite short,
All right.
but it depends upon how much you want to talk about. That's,
No, it depends how much you want to talk about it, Shannon. Go ahead, take it away. I'll let you know if it's getting tight.
I've just noticed that there's another set of, you will be prosecuted if you do X, which is throwing trash. That's the second set of signs we have out here that say, you will be prosecuted if you do such and such. I don't think we should be putting out bluffs. If you're gonna be prosecuted, prosecute. If you're not gonna prosecute, take down the signs. It's just my opinion. Now, the discussion's up to you.
Let me ask you this, when's the last time you have thrown something out the window in front of a cop?
I understand.
Well, my point is, you gotta catch them, okay? It's a detour, it's not a bluff. Absolutely, I mean, if somebody throws a wad of trash out the window right in front of us, I think I could speak for all of us. By God, they'd get stopped.
I mean, if I turn in someone's license plate, who's thrown a set of beer bottles out on the road, and tell the county sheriff that this has been done, what will happen?
Oh, he's right there in the corner.
Take a picture.
I didn't take a picture.
It's an infraction, we have to see it. Now, if they have mail, if they have a trash bag and their names in it, then we can run, but.
You'd probably get fingerprints. But,
Yeah.
you know, how far do you want to go?
It's not CSI.
How far do you want to go in a prosecution? That's my real
Well, we
question.
have three
I
detectives, and they're not
understand.
gonna fingerprint for an infraction.
I understand it's just like you have to see it in order to be able to prosecute it. What's the probability of having that happen? Almost zero.
If, I've been with the sheriff's department close to 10 years, and I've written one citation in 10 years because, to his point, their information was inside. Other than that, it's hard to prove unless they do it right in front of you.
I understand.
But you know what? If those signs deter a handful of people from doing it, then they've done their job.
You know, they're like padlocks. They only keep honest people off your stuff.
I agree. But then,
So the signs will just keep somebody from flicking the cigarette out or taking that last piece of trash because they just had their car washed out the window. And that's all it does. The people that are gonna be sloppy and throw trash out are gonna do it as long as there's not a cop behind them.
All right.
so,
Try a dash cam, Shannon.
so
Get you a dash cam.
if people are caught soliciting on private property, when are we going to prosecute them?
Well, they gotta be trespassed first. And then if they come back, then they can be arrested.
When? They come back 10 months from now,
If they're trespassed,
it says if they're soliciting, they're trespassing. And they will be prosecuted. They're not allowed to solicit. They can't solicit on the county road. They have to come on my property,
correct.
and I reported that.
To
They were
who?
escorted off. No prosecution. They know that. They know a bluff. They know that if you're escorting them off, you're not going to prosecute them. So the sign should say, no soliciting. Because if you're not going to prosecute, why put that out there as a
Shannon
bluff?
will go change all the signs just for you. How's that?
No, you don't have to do anything. I'm just saying to you, this is my opinion.
Well,
It may not be the opinion of anyone else in this room.
All right, cool.
Okay?
You good?
That's
All
fine.
right, thank you, Shannon. Okay, any other non-covenant business? Cindy?
I just want to thank everybody for the POA, hopefully it's getting on the website there, for supporting the camp, the Putnam County Kids Camp, the office, Ken, the board, and everyone. This is our year 10, and I'm real excited. We've got some special things coming up, and it's June the 10th to the 14th, and thanks to the Sheriff's Department, because they always come out and are like the committees and stuff. I just want to thank everybody.
Cindy, thank you for putting it together. I think it's a fantastic event every single year, and it's really great being over here by the clubhouse and watching all those kids just having a blast for a week. It's a really, really feel-good kind of thing, and it takes a ton of work to do that, so thank you and everybody that you've got working with you to make that happen. Thank you. All right. Everybody else good? No other questions with respect to non-covenant? All right, we'll move into questions around the covenant vote. As I stated earlier, we're at about 18.5% of ballots returned, which is, got a long way to go, but we've got a long time to get there. So we've still got some opportunities to try to get people to come out and vote, and we'll be working on that. Again, tons of information on the POA website. The board is available to everybody to answer questions. Here's your opportunity, so I ask you, same rules, raise your hand, state your name, your lot number, ask your question, keep it brief if you can, and we'll try to answer the questions as best we can. Anybody? Cindy?
I guess City House and JV, I don't understand.
That's not a board document, I have no idea what that's about.
Okay, all right.
But the board had nothing to do with that, that was,
Okay.
that's not our document.
No, it's mine.
Anybody else have any questions?
I'll say something.
You got, oh, Curtis, raise your hand, state your name and your lot number.
Well, is this covenant we're talking about now?
Yes.
My name is Curtis Calvert. I live at 309 Gettysburg. I put those papers out, they didn't put them out. That's because I believe that the covenants that they're proposing are dangerous, they're foolish, and I don't believe they even have the authority of the people to promote them in the first place.
Okay, that's your statement. Anybody else have any questions? Harold.
Harold Pito, 189 Mill Springs. You said there was 520 votes we've gotten back?
552 have been returned, yes.
How many?
552, which represents 18.5% of the 2986.
How many were
total
yes
votes.
and how many no?
We're not gonna publicize that this time around because we don't want to unfairly influence people voting for or against them based on what they think everybody else is doing. So we changed that this time around. Previously, we used to report how many yeses and how many noes, but we don't want people to say, oh, well, the yeses are killing it, so I'm not gonna bother to vote. So we're leaving it open. It's up to people to educate yourself as to what the issues are and make your decision and cast your vote. Regardless of whether you're for it or against it, just vote. That's what we're really, really trying to drive home.
We got 2,000.
2986, 2986 that went out, yeah. Yep. It's not the first time.
We're
I
just
mean,
getting
we'll go
started.
back.
We're
Yeah,
just getting started.
we are. Any other questions?
Deborah's got a question.
Deborah Napier, 189 Gettysburg. Just to speak on behalf of the POA, we've received another handful of envelopes in the ballot box or in the PO box that have assessment payments in them. The PO box envelope that was sent with the petition and the material is for the petition, not assessment payments. And if you put it into the PO box and it's late, guess what? You're late. We provided the envelope for the petition.
Okay. Thank you, Deborah. Anybody else? If not, I will take a motion.
I make a
Everyone
motion
else
we
has-
adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Executive session, please. Yeah.